Hey, how we doing on this Friday morning, Ball Nation? If you got a minimum sleep last night, like I did, then we're both in the same boat. As it was a late one last night. Tennessee took care of business, so 64-42 over Virginia. The game started almost an hour later than expected due to the Baylor St. John's game going into double overtime. But it was a game last night. Uh, to me, I liked what I saw from Tennessee, and I'll discuss that after I plug the channel here, obviously. So thank you guys for tuning in. Your support's greatly appreciated along this ride with the House of Orange. So thank you for that. Make sure you hit the like, you share, you subscribe to the channel as you check this out here as well. But Tennessee last night, sluggish first half. It was one of those, they went into the half 22-21. Virginia closed the half on a 7-0 run. And it kind of looked like it could be one of those going back, a couple years, Madison Square Garden in the Sweet 16 against FAU. Could be. I seen people putting up, I can't even remember when this game was played. It was against Georgetown a few years back, where it was like 44-43. This looked like it had the potential to be one of those games. But Chaz Lanier had other ideas. When Tennessee came out in the second half, Chaz Lanier in the first half at one point, I can't remember exactly what it was happened, but Rick Barnes pulled him, and he was on him. He was not happy with Chaz Lanier, and Chaz went and sit down. I saw Justin Gainey had come over to him at that point, come back in, of course, later on, finished the first half. But when he came out in the second half, you start seeing that guy we've heard about who can come in and can score along the way. As Chaz come in last night and had 26 points on it. I've lost my box score. Here we go. There's my box score from last night. So Chaz Lanier ended up 26 points. Igor Milicic, a guy, if you've listened to me on here, I've been on this one for a while. Igor Milicic had a lot of connections in this game as he started out Virginia, and then he played a couple years at Charlotte. Well, one of his coaches at Charlotte is now Virginia's interim head coach. So there were some connections with Igor Milicic. Kind of wonder how he was. Did he come in a little extra fired up last night as well as he played? I thought a good basketball game also. But that second half, Chaz Lanier, I'm not sure if at one point he had outscored, this was late in the second half, he had outscored Virginia for the entire second half. So looking at the percentages for Tennessee. So the first half, Tennessee shot 29.2% from field goal range, 20% from three-point range. And I'm looking at Virginia. I'm sorry, I was going to say it did not seem right. First half for Tennessee, Tennessee was 30% from field goal range, 33% from three-point, 0% from free throw line. They only got to the free throw line 2 times in the first half. And, you got to credit Virginia with that. They're one of those teams. They play a slow pace, but they are probably one of your more physical teams. As Tennessee would try to drive, they couldn't get much of anywhere. Threw it down to Akpara. He had trouble. He was only charged with 2 turnovers. I thought it would have been more. He was actually, let me rephrase that. He was not charged with any turnovers, and I don't know about that. We'll go with it. But the second half, totally different story. 44% from field goal range, 38.5% from three-point. And then they did get to the free throw line 8 times for the game, only 50%, though. It's not going to get it done in a big game. Last night, though, it was sufficient enough. But what I liked about this team was, Rick Barnes' staple is defense. This defense was on it last night. They were on it from the start. They held Virginia to 29% in the first half, 28% field goals in the second half. Now, Virginia did shoot. They were 20% from 3 in the first half, 40 in the second half. And Virginia was 8 of 11 from the free throw line. So neither team, there wasn't a lot of driving happening. Or if it was, there wasn't a lot of fouls in this game. It was a pretty clean, as far as foul-wise, it was a pretty clean game. There was a lot of ugly instances in this game. I mean, Tennessee did force 18 turnovers, and they only turned it over 7 times themselves. 11 assists for Tennessee, only 9 for Virginia. Where I was really impressed last night with Tennessee, they dominated the offensive rebounds. They were actually absolutely dominant on the offensive boards with 18 rebounds. For the game, they won the rebounding battle 43-34. Tennessee dominated a lot of facets of this game last night. Again, the offense wasn't beautiful at times, but Chaz, I've said it on here, Chaz Lanier is going to be that guy. He hits one, he's going to get to cooking, and Chaz was cooking. He hit that 1 3-pointer last night. It was a little ugly. Start the second half. Then here he went. He went on a run himself at that point. I think he went on like an 11-0 run himself at one point. And then Akpara had a basket. And then you had Igor Milicic got in on it, started taking off a little bit of the slack as well. But those two guys, you see why I'm so high on them when they come in. And last night was one of those nights. Without those two, where are they at? And we did see our first bit of Darlington Dubar last night. I thought he did some good things in the first half when he come in. He had, let's see here, looking at his stats last night, he had 4 points, 3 rebounds, but I thought he did a pretty good job when he was in there. His plus minus, he and Cade Phillips, -5, -7. Now, some of that come at the end when they come in for a couple minutes to go, and Virginia outscored them during that stretch. But I mean, the plus minus, I look at that. Akpara rated the highest on that with plus -31, Lanier 29, and even though Zakai Ziegler only scored 2 points last night, they were still plus 25 with him on the court last night. He had 6 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 steals, and says it did credit him with a couple blocks as well. Akpara, it says here, had 5 blocks. Virginia was having a really hard time on him when they were taking it into the paint. He was sending out numerous. I actually thought he might have had more blocks than that, but he was, as far as rebounding, as far as blocks, he was what he was brought in to do last night in that game. I don't think there was any doubt about that. He was what he was brought in to do, and that was to control the paint and to keep other guys out. Now, again, Milicic led Tennessee in rebounding with 8. But, I mean, if you look at these rebounds down the line, Milicic 8, Akpara 6, Lanier 4, Ziegler 4, Meshack 5, Gainey 7, Dubar 3. I mean, that's a really good night, a good solid night on the boards, and they're all not just coming from one guy. They're coming from across the team. And, again, like I talked about the defense earlier, they absolutely smothered Virginia last night. On the inbounds plays, Virginia could not even hardly get the ball in. Jemai Meshack, again, he is the top defensive player in college basketball. Nobody can prove me otherwise on this. That's no disrespect to anybody. This guy is that good of a defender. Whether he had blocks last night, he gets steals, defensive boards, he gets them. The inbounds when he's defending, again, on the guy, Jemai Meshack was guarding, they could not even hardly get the ball to him. I don't know how many deflections he had out of bounds last night. Dude's a stud. He is a stud. And, his numbers, again, he scored 7 points last night. He only took 5 shots. He hit his 1 3-pointer. He was 0 for 2 on free throws, but this is a good basketball team. I saw a lot of the typical overreaction early in the game. Here's the thing with Virginia. They were the slowest paced team in college basketball last year. They are a low scoring team. You knew that it was going to be this kind of game. And the fact that Tennessee really turned it around in the second half said a lot to me, as Tennessee went for 42 points in the second half. Virginia 21-21. They were consistent. Tennessee went for 22 in the first half. And again, they almost doubled that up in the second half. Much, much better in the second half. Here's a big stat for me on the night. Points from turnovers. Virginia had 2. Tennessee had 30. If you've noticed in all of Tennessee's games so far, one of the big things I've noticed, It's fast break points, points off turnovers. Teams are not getting them on Tennessee. They're barely getting them, where in turn Tennessee is getting them along the way. That says a lot to me about this defense. And you always wonder, especially when you're trying to incorporate so many new guys into the equation. I mean, there's 3 new guys in the starting lineup. They're still playing top-notch defense. I mean, right now in the Ken Palm rankings, they have them defensive rating number 1. Tennessee, according to Ken Palm's, 5th in the country. Their offensive rating's 19. Their defensive rating right now, according to Ken Palm, number 1 in the entire country. That should not come as any surprise. And then Tennessee, of course, they do play tonight for the Baja Mar Championship against Baylor. I like Tennessee's chances. Baylor went to double overtime last night. Heck of a job by them to come back and win that game. They looked dead in the water numerous times and come back and win that game on the Jeremy Roach 3 at the buzzer. It was a fun game to watch. It just wasn't the night for it. It was a late night on a weeknight on a work day. So, but this Tennessee team, I was impressed. I liked it. I like what they did against one of those tempos. I don't know. I didn't notice anything quirky with the tempo. Virginia's just a slower paced team, and Tennessee took care of business. They took care of business. There's going to be those nights it's ugly. And like I said, I saw overreaction. Oh, this is a 4 or 5, 6. Let the games play out, guys. Let them play out. I'm telling you right here, this is a really good basketball team. All right? They're going to have those nights along the way. Yes, it could happen tonight. Who knows? Because you're playing a Baylor team tonight. They're ranked 11th, according to Ken Palm, 5th in offensive rating, 45th in defensive rating. To me, that's not a recipe to beat Tennessee. Tennessee can shut down good offenses. You better have a good defense to shut them down. I think Tennessee rolls tonight in this one. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you have a great Friday. Hit that like, that share. If you have not already and you like the content, hit that subscribe button as well. It's always greatly appreciated on that. But again, hope you have a great rest of your day. Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. Last but most certainly not least, go Vols.